Meow. Everybody, I'm Cantonese Cat. Hey everyone, Cantonese Cat here. This is Coinbase, ticker symbol COIN. Gonna show you a couple of things here. First thing is a monthly chart of Coinbase. And you can right off the bat see that the price is right at resistance, right around here. It's a volume shelf that are just right at this level. If you have to do a little bit of, more precise kind of thing, the volume show is going to be at the top of it, probably around like the 280s. The bottom of this current volume show is maybe around the 220s. Maybe even a little bit lower, maybe around the 220s, probably, I would say 280s, 220s, probably a good range right here. And why is there a volume shelf over here? What are volume shelves? Volume shelves is just basically a way to tell you that there's been a lot of stock here that's been traded hands around this price level. And these are the volume for these particular price levels over here has been traded hands. So there's a lot of memory here. If you just look at the chart, a lot of times you don't need the volume shelf. You just look at the chart, you can see this price after IPO back in April 2021. The price spent about half a year at this level before breaking down, and before I would also argue before back testing this level right around here around February 2022, failed to break back above, and then price just plummeted after that for about a whole year. Right, so there's a lot of very important history right around this level over here, and as price, even though it's been forming very, very nice higher lows, higher highs, all the way up here, this is a very, very strong parabolic bull trend. But once you hit the very, very critical level over here, you're going to end up spending some time here to try and sort things out. How long is it going to sort things out for? I think we're getting close. I want to say probably for the current month or maybe next month before bullish continuation. I can kind of show you as to why that is. If you worry about, if you're holding a stock, you worry about the downside. Again, there's no guarantee. Right now, I think that it would have been a lot more, smarter to, if you're a trader. I'm not a trader. I do hold a position on Coinbase. I'm not a trader, but if I was a trader, and if I wanted to day trade, I would probably look at this level over here, resistance. It got way above at this level over here, at this range. There's a lot of price history over here. You probably want to sell at the top of this range, and then maybe play this range here before, this bullish continuation. How long do I think this range is probably going to last? If I have to, nobody knows for sure, right? If I had to make my best guess, probably April into maybe even May. Is that always going to have to play out the way that I say it too? No, that's why I'm not selling it. Again, I'm not a day trader. I'm not going to bother with these plus or minus 30% move after things have kind of gone from all the way from the 30s up to the 280s, right? So I'm not going to trade these kind of small 30% moves going up, but I can see a lot of people potentially end up doing that. You have a little bit of a tweezer over here on the monthly, so I can see potentially a little bit of downside here before up. And you also have a lot of price history over here. You also have a lot of volume show over here. That's going to be a little bit more like the final frontier before things go up really, really high, right? So things are going to spend a little bit more time over here before going up. But maybe another month, maybe another two before there's bullish continuation. The bull trend is still intact. The buying volume is still intact. This is a very, very nice, parabolic bull trend. Just to kind of pull up some of the other indicators here, if you just look at the Ichimoku cloud, you can see a very nice bullish cross down here back in February 2024, which tells you that the bull trend has been happening for a while, and this is confirmed. When something happens like this with a nice monthly bullish cross between the Tenkan over here, which is the leading line, and the Kijun over here, which is the lagging line, where something happens like that, generally price can go pretty significantly much higher over the next 12 to 24 months. And right now this just happened. It's like the second or third month since this has really happened. So it's still a bull trend. A bull trend doesn't mean that you're not going to have some pretty brutal correction. Can you imagine just how brutal this move over here has been? Can you imagine how brutal this move over here has been? Why did these moves happen? It's because price got way above the monthly Tenkan. You can see the Tenkan over here during a bull market. Tenkan, it gets flipped from being resistance over here to support over here. And as Tenkan continue to go up, it's allowing it to kind of support the bull market to go up a lot higher. When things get a little bit far from the Tenkan, guess what happens? Gravity happens. It pulls it a little bit, getting a little bit closer. It doesn't always have to touch Tenkan here, but overall the last year or so, Tenkan has worked out almost relatively perfectly. It doesn't have to touch the Tenkan necessarily, but it has to get closer to it And if it's getting way far above it, sometimes it does raise question whether or not things might have to go sideways a little bit here to consolidate, wait for Tengen to kind of catch up a little bit before its bullish continuation. Again, I don't think it has to necessarily touch it. Over here on the downtrend, it didn't touch it for a very long time, but this is also a very, very brutal parabolic downtrend, right? When the bull trend happens, does it have to touch it? No. But in general, I think that's a pretty good guideline. If you just look at Bitcoin, like look at what happened over the last bullish cycle, price still end up respecting the Tengen for the most part here 2 cycles ago. You can see that price has really been respecting the Tengen on the way up. And this is for a very parabolic asset like Bitcoin from like 2016, 2018. It really didn't get too far from the Tengen, did it? When it gets too far, it's been next one touching it, and using a support to go up. So I think that Coinbase is kind of doing a very, similar thing, where if things get a little bit too far from the Tengen, I can imagine it kind of going sideways, maybe wait for the Tengen to kind of catch up a little bit for about a month or two before its bullish continuation. So what we're seeing here is one thing to tell us that maybe there is going to be some break that needs to happen, wait for the Tengen to kind of go up. I do think that it's probably going to be range bound down here, like the lowest it goes maybe at most maybe around the 220s. So I'm not really worried about, even though I showed the Tengen right now is located at like 176, I'm not really worried about it going down to like the 170s. Although if it does go down to the 170s, I'm also not surprised, because technically it would still be a breakout of this, horizontal level that has been a resistance. It's basically just kind of back testing a little bit. But if I was to look for adding more to my coin position, which I'm not, I'm very happy with my coin position right now. If I was to add to my coin position, I would probably end up adding at the bottom of this range over here. If it ever gets down to like the 170s, 180s down here, I would add more. That's probably how I would do it, but I'm not buying right now. So I'm not telling you what to do. This is not advice, but I'm just telling you what potentially, if I was to want to get into it, what I would do. I might still end up doing that. Actually, if price get down to like the 180, 170 range, I might still end up adding more, because it's a very, very nice bull trend, because it's getting less risk as price get a little bit closer to the Tengen down here. I might still add a little bit more. Now, in addition to looking at the Ichimoku Cloud analysis, you can also look at the Bollinger Band. What's happening with the Bollinger Band right now? Price get way outside the upper Bollinger Band last month. And gravity happens. The upper Bollinger Band tends to like to bring the price back down to touch it. Right now, price did end up having a little bit of a wick underneath and got a little bit closer to upper Bollinger Band. That could have been it. It could have been one of those candles that's just kind of flying in space over here and not touch upper Bollinger Band. That's always a possibility. Probability-wise, there's still a potential risk for it to go down and touch the upper Bollinger Band, or even potentially close inside the upper Bollinger Band for the month of April. There's still a pretty decent probability that that could happen, although it doesn't have to. The upper Bollinger Band right now is at 232, so there's a possibility where it could just go down before its bullish continuation. The tricky thing is, it almost doesn't matter sometimes what altcoins or Bitcoin or Ethereum, it doesn't matter what they're doing. Coinbase is a stock, it follows its own technicals. So a lot of people be looking like, hey, Bitcoin is going up, why isn't Coinbase going up? Just kind of like the miners, like they're following their own technicals. Sometimes you just need to work out its own technicals before its bullish continuation. Right now, there's a bunch of supply over here that's trying to eat through. Right now, the traders are looking at these indicators, which may have some self-fulfilling prophecy to them. Right now, there are a lot of people that are looking at things that I'm looking at. There are a lot of algorithms that are looking at things that I'm looking at right now. So I just want to kind of caution, if you buy now, it's probably okay. You might potentially have some short-term pain before some long-term gain, which is not the end of the world. But some of the risk level here would be the upper Bollinger Band and around the 230s. The bottom of this volume shelf, which is going to be around the 220s, as seen by a lot of these trade activity over here with these wicks underneath that goes down even a little bit below to like the 2 teens. And that would just be kind of like a back test of this breakout level, which is not the end of the world. So those are some of the things I'm looking at. Now, if you're looking at the Fibonacci levels to try and give you a better idea in terms of what's happening, I can turn off the Bollinger Band here, and I can pull up the Fibonacci from the all-time high IPO price all the way over to the cycle low. You can see that it's been respecting a very important Fibonacci level, which is 0.618. This is the golden ratio of the Fibonacci retracement level. Very, very important. If things are able to break convincing about 280, you're really talking about, this is probably one of the strongest resistance you're going to have. If you're talking about price breaking above 280s, I think it could go up a lot higher. How high do I think it's going to go? I'm really eyeing potentially look at some of these upper targets over here. And when I was kind of pointing out to some of these higher targets here about a year ago, people thought I was crazy. The price just went away from like the 30s all the way up to the 220 to 230s, to even up to like 280 in just a short period of time, in about like a little bit over a year. So can things potentially go up higher? I think so. I think that the crypto bull market has just started. So, and I think that there is a potential for this move to go up a lot higher. And these are some of the higher levels I'm really looking at. People think that 4-digit Coinbase stock is like ridiculous because the market cap just getting like way too high, way too fast. I don't think so. I mean, I think it makes sense if you're worried. It has to make a very significant move all the way from down here to up here. And the higher it goes, even here, the risk level is going to be a lot higher than if you were bought down here, right? The risk level is going to be a lot higher now compared to what it's going to do. But if you're one of those momentum traders, you're one of those momentum buyers for like a longer term swing trade, if you ask me whether or not there's any like exhaustion of the trend, the answer that I have for you is I think it's doing exactly what I expect it to do. And right now there's not really any like significant bearish divergences on the RSI on the monthly. And if you look at a weekly, you're starting to get a little bit of bearish divergence over here, but that's expected because right now RSI has actually gone over up to like the 80s, and you're going to end up having a little bit of cool down here. What I would potentially foresee here is you might end up having a little bit further cool down here, and what might end up actually happening is you can potentially break this RSI trend line and just keep going up. That's kind of what I'm seeing Coinbase could potentially do here. And another thing that is giving me some encouragement, I think that this sideways here probably won't last too much longer. By not too much longer, I think maybe it can still have another several weeks to it. So you might still end up having a little bit of a short-term pain here, or maybe even to the 2 teens or something like that. Wait for some of the indicators to catch up before it's bullish continuation. But there are a couple of things that are telling me that the buying momentums are coming in. First thing, if you just look at the last couple of weeks, the bottom of the price actually has gone up a little bit here. But if you look at the RSI, there's a clear reset. This is a traditional hidden bullish divergence over here. So you can see that, even though the price kind of gone sideways, some of the momentum indicators are still, basically just showing you that they're basically just kind of resetting a little bit here, which is no big deal. The bearish divergence from here to here is playing out, and you're basically just waiting for RSI to kind of get reset down here a little bit before its bullish continuation. I'm not that concerned about something like this. If you look at like what Bitcoin is doing, and this is the weekly chart over here, right? So if you look at what Bitcoin here is doing, you're going to get these bearish divergences that's going to happen on the way up. So for example, from here all the way, actually let's say from here all the way to here, you're going to get a lot of these kind of bearish divergences on the way up until the bearish divergence breaks, right? So, and then if you look up here, there's really a lot of overbought conditions over here. I guess that cycle is probably not like a good way to look at it. Let's look at the cycle before that, because you really don't have that much of a bearish divergence over here in the last cycle. But the cycle before that, like price just continued to go up on these bearish divergences like crazy. Like you see price going higher, RSI go down until you have a breakout of this RSI level over here, and then price just kind of have a big breakout like that, and it could potentially go up there for a very long time. The last cycle is unique because it didn't really show a whole lot of bearish divergences until right here. And whenever you start seeing this, but I think this is probably like an early truncated cycle, because you do see a bearish divergence right here on the weekly that is telling you that, hey, some of the bullish momentum is really dying over here. And sure enough, it kind of worked out for like a few months. But eventually, even then, eventually it did make a higher high over here in November 2021. So if you end up missing this bearish divergence, if you end up not selling, and you see that there's a big giant exhaustion over here on the monthly, you can see that there's a lot of bearish divergence over here on the monthly. then that really is telling you that maybe the trend is really starting to get completely exhausted and you can still potentially get out over here. Right now, there's not really any indicator here but an RSI to tell you that things are getting completely exhausted from Bitcoin. So very similar thing here for Coinbase too. Right now, there's not really any sign on the monthly to tell you that things are getting a little bit exhausted here. It's just getting a little bit exhausted here on the weekly, on the short term, which is fine. Things can go up a lot further on the bearish divergences, just like price can go up a lot, lower on bullish divergence. Like bullish divergence and bearish divergence don't really tell you too much, especially on the weekly. It could just be based on a lot of reset on the RSI. So I'm not really too worried about it, and I do want to look for a potential breakout of this zone right here. The reason why I say I'm not too worried about it is because I expect things to kind of get resistance where I'm at right now, and I expect the RSI to cool down. I just really want to see this big giant breakout over here at this trend line, and if I see that, you're going to end up having some pretty decent bullish continuation. If I see rejection over here, I'm going to be a little bit more concerned, but even if it's getting rejected right here again, price could be a lot higher because RSI is being reset. So we'll continue. This is one of those situations that you have to continue to monitor, but you're seeing a little bit of bearish divergence over here on the weekly, which again is not unexpected because it's been oversold. I just kind of want to show you a couple other indicators over here too. I'm going to get rid of the Fibonacci levels here. I want to show you a couple other indicators over here too, which is the weekly Ichimoku cloud. Some of the risk levels are rising. Right now, the Tenkan is around 200 on the weekly, and I can see that it could potentially oscillate here around this range over here between 280 and 220s. And it could potentially form a little bit of bull flag over here, and for Tenkan to kind of catch up to the 220s, use that as support before bouncing up higher. I can potentially see that happening. The other thing too is to look at the couple other indicators here. Bull market support band. Mind you, price can go up a lot higher without touching the bull market support band. I don't expect it to go all the way down to like the 180s or anything like that. But if it does have to go down here, there's plenty of support here. I just showed you with the bull market support band as a pretty decent support. And if you also pull out the Ichimoku cloud over here, there's also plenty of support underneath over here. So if things break down at this level at the 220s, immediately you're going to get a lot of support down in the 190s and 180s. I'm not really that worried about it. So, but at the 280 range, like that might be a little bit of a higher risk. But things are getting significantly de-risked right now. Again, if I was to buy, which I'm not, I might be looking to add around the 220s. If it goes lower, I might end up adding more. So those are just kind of the general thoughts for Coinbase. It is seeing a little bit of exhaustion on the weekly. You already knew that, but things are working out. I think buyers most likely they're going to end up coming in again, but there's no guarantee. We'll see how the Bitcoin and Ethereum cycles are going. Right now, Ethereum still hasn't really made an all-time high quite just yet. So there are a lot of reasons to think that this is just maybe like the beginning to mid innings for Coinbase before its bullish continuation. And one reason why I think that is because the Bollinger Band analysis on the monthly, you just start having an increase in this 20-month moving average, and the Bollinger Band are still expanding up. The trend is still up on the monthly, so there's no reason to get scared about a little bit of bearish divergence on the weekly when the monthly trend is still looks like it's still want to keep on going up. With increasing Bollinger expansion, it's going to allow price to go a lot higher. So far, the price is very, very impulsive. It's way outside upper Bollinger Band. It's just cooling down. 20-month moving average is pointing way up. So I'm not really worried about the trend stopping yet. I'm going to keep holding the shares that I have in Coinbase, and we'll see what happens. All right, this has been closer to about 20 minutes. One other thing I want to show you, the monthly chart, it really hasn't been around for all that long. So the Black Cat oscillators, I'm going to stop it. The Black Cat oscillator is not going to show you anything over here yet on the monthly. So don't worry about that. We'll keep on monitoring the situation, but I do think that it's probably going to end up going sideways. It's going to go up afterwards. I'll just leave it as that. Been 20 minutes. Thank you for listening. Have a good one. Bye.